People are strange. Fucking strange.
Is that strange?
That is strange.
That is strange.
Wow, that is strange. This is strange.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Alien Addict again on this fine Sunday. Before we get on with the podcast, I want you to go and do the stuff like the like and share and subscribing. If you are listening to this show after the fact on audio, I would like you to give us a 5-star review and say something nasty. Tell Ollie's got small hands. Like, tell everyone that his mum's really hot. I don't care. Just make sure you leave us a 5-star review. Without further ado, my co-host Oliver and our guest Greg from Strange Sauna. How are we doing, people?
Doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
I'm fine until he mentions the hands, Greg. You know, I think you heard that, Joe. That these hands are absolutely normal.
Yeah, I was going to say, he gave you the Trump treatment. You know what I mean?
I know.
Jeez, how dare you, Lee?
The difference with the Trump treatment is, by all counts, Trump actually has pretty big hands. Oliver
He's a pretty big bloke. I didn't realize how big Trump actually was.
Oh yeah, he's got big ears too. That's why it got hit on the, you know. So yeah, I mean, thanks for having me on. This is my third time on, so I'm excited to be back with you guys.
We love having you, Greg.
I mean, just there's a lot happening, and there's a lot happening in shorter periods of time. So everything's being condensed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're massive events. I mean, the Trump assassination attempt. Today, we were just speaking about this right before we started. Biden just dropped out of the race, which everybody saw coming. So the question is now who will replace Biden? And there's talks saying Hillary's coming back. So
wow.
I mean, I love the idea that she's coming back to go, oh, well, they rigged it last time. They can just do it again. Then I can win.
Exactly. Then she can truly be like, she can shatter that glass ceiling that she's always been wanting to do, you know?
Can you actually see that happening? Hillary coming back?
Well, they've got about 15 of them.
Yeah, if we have true and honest elections, I could not see Hillary winning. But you never really know. You never know.
When the morning of the morning here of the assassination, so because obviously when that happened, I was tucked up in bed, and someone sent me a gif of Hillary Clinton looking like really angry what do you mean they missed? And I just but the thing is, people send me stuff like that every day anyway. So I just thought, oh, it's just a funny gif. Then I looked at Twitter and everything had gone mental on the internet. I watched the video and saw what happened. And the first thing I thought was, oh my God, Greg was right.
Oh, shit. Yeah. I mean, the mortal head wound, right? Because the last time we were on, we were kind of diving into, because I did a whole series, if anybody doesn't know, on Strange Sauna. You can find it on YouTube, Rumble, audio podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all that stuff. Did a whole 4-part series on Trump being the Antichrist, and I looked at a lot of evidence from Donnie Darkins, his Twitter account. I think he goes by Donnie Discerned now. He changed his logo. He's kind of going down a more just righteous path instead of pointing out all the evil things. He's pointing out what we should be doing. I don't know. But regardless, there was this incident where you have Revelation 13:3, where it says one of the heads of the beast, it's a 7-headed beast, but one of the heads would be, or appear to be, mortally wounded, and then it would arise and people would marvel at the beast, right? And it was funny because at the time it was a super busy weekend. I haven't done an episode on Strange Sauna for a couple months because of kids' sports. I have 3 kids, and sports has just literally taken over my life as far as taking them to practice, taking them to the games and all this other stuff. But I was in the middle of I was carrying soccer equipment, and then, or I guess you guys call it football, right? Just makes sense to call it football. You kick the ball with your dang foot. And my Dave from the show, Last Americans podcast, he calls me and he's like, "Hey, Trump just got shot in the head." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "The mortal head wound, dude." And he's like, "I think he's okay, but I'll send you the video." So, I mean, it's the ear. So, and everybody hasn't seen the wound yet. We don't know. I mean, reports are that he had 2 centimeters taken out of the top of his right ear. And it's weird because if you look at the hat, that's right where the 45 and the 47 is. So 4 plus 5 is 9, 4 plus 7 is 11. So the 9/11 was right where the incident took place.
Oh, man.
And I mean, a lot of it to me looks staged. I don't want to say that it's staged because honestly, we don't know, right? But first gut instinct was that this looks like a photo op, right? Because he gets out of the circle of the Secret Service and he does the fist pump for like 9 seconds. You know what I mean? And I'm just thinking there's no way that they would allow the future president of the United States to do that because they don't know if there's more than one shooter. There could be, 4 or 5 different shooters. They didn't know at that moment. So to me, the first thing I was just like, this is very, very strange. I wonder what they're trying to do with this. I did have some notes on this because the shooting happened on July 13th, which happens to be Julius Caesar's birthday.
And
that's
mine.
Interesting.
And your birthday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, happy birthday, belatedly.
Thank you.
That's it was odd birthday for you then, huh? A lot of
yeah.
Well, so I mean, because the month of July was
sorry.
named after Julius Caesar, right? Julius July. And if you remember, back in 2017, there was this whole hubbub of the Shakespeare in the Park. They were holding this kind of play where they had a Trump-like Julius Caesar character. He was being assassinated on stage. And that happened right around June 12th. I think the first show on the Broadway was June 12th, 2017. And you've been having these premonitions of there's going to be an attack on Trump. There's going to be an assassination attempt. I go through all of that, I think, on episode 1 of the Golden Dawn series on Strange Sauna. But this happened on Julius Caesar's birthday. And I'm just thinking, when you look at all the evidence that's coming out, it appears that this was an inside job. The Secret Service either dropped the ball or they purposefully allowed this to happen. I mean, the guy came in. He looked suspicious. They even tagged him as being a suspicious character. He had a range finder thing that allows you to measure the distance where you're shooting. He had that on him. He had a bunch of different items on him. He was somebody carried the ladder that allowed him to climb this building. And ironically, the building that he was climbing on top of was where the police or the Secret Service were stationed in. So it's like, how could they not hear somebody crawling on the roof? I guess maybe the speakers of the Trump rally were that loud that they couldn't hear that. But there's stuff coming out where it looks like it's an inside job, right? And so I'm thinking, if Julius Caesar's birthday, this shooting happened on Julius Caesar's birthday, what if they're trying to set this up as, the Judas moment where Trump gets stabbed in the back by his Judas, his Secret Service guy? I don't know. So they've already called for the head of the Secret Service to resign. I think she already did. But that doesn't really solve the issue to me. It's like, who gave her the orders to do this or to not do something to protect, right? To not bring in more snipers, to not guard that one building, because that building was the closest building to Trump. They didn't have it guarded. They had snipers looking at the building, which was very suspicious. They were looking at the guy, and they didn't take him out. Apparently, he had the gun, he had the rifle. You had a lot of cell phone footage of people on the ground yelling, saying, "Hey, this guy's up on the roof. He has a gun." So why didn't they take him out before he fired? I don't know.
I mean, the funny thing is when you look at the top, when you look at the map of that area, even if you had no like prior knowledge of what you were doing, and someone just turned around and said, right, you can go anywhere, but you're going to hit a target on that stage, you choose the roof. Because it was such an obvious place. It was such an obvious place to be. I don't understand any of it. I can't make my mind up between because I think as conspiracy theorists, you end up in this like weird limbo where you start to think, well, is everything manufactured? You know, is everything I see is the world a stage?
Yeah.
And then you drift into that thing of going, well, no, everything can't be, because there does seem to be moving parts behind it where there's at least different like factions that are working behind the scenes. But then there's something about Donald Trump that it doesn't matter what happens to him. First of all, he's Teflon, almost literally. Whatever gets on him comes off, but he ends up brighter every time the shit falls off him.
Yeah.
It seems beyond luck.
Well, if you take the conspiracy out of this, and
very difficult.
It's very difficult to take the conspiracy out of it, because you look at that, it's just total incompetency, you know, because that building, just like you said, that's the one that they should have been looking at.
Yeah, and you know, you listen to podcasts like Dan Bongino, he's former Secret Service, and he talks about, you know, days, even maybe up to months before the rally, you go there and you do a perimeter surveillance and you identify these weaknesses as risks, and you go, okay, that is a sniper standpoint risk. That's a risk. This place is a risk. So you should have had all of these pinpointed and mapped out long before the rally even occurred. So the fact that they just allowed that to happen tells me that there was an inside job. And then you have these reports of multiple shooters. And I don't know if you've looked into this at all, but there's been numerous people who've done audio analysis where they break down the wave format of the weapons or the bullets being fired. And there's a strange segment where you take someone's cell phone, because they have so many different clips coming out that they've taken. And they had this one clip where you hear 3 distant shots, because this person, to give you some perspective, was right next to the building where the shooter was, Thomas Crooks. So they were right next to that building. So she heard 3 shots that were distant, and then there were 5 rapid shots that sound exactly like an AR-15. It sounded like Crooks's AR-15. It was right next to the camera, so it sounded very loud. And then there was one final snap that sounded like the sniper that was also close that shot Crooks. And so the 3 distant shots, people are wondering, where did those come from? And you look at the distance of the water tower, and there's a water tower, like there's drone footage of this area where you can see, okay, blah, 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 blah. You're looking all around it, but there's this large water tower in the back, kind of behind the stage. And it has a clear view of the entire venue. And the vantage point from there is you can see everybody. Like you could see Trump, you could see the shooter on the roof, you could see anybody, right? But they didn't have anybody there. And word on the street is they weren't really surveilling that area. And there was video that popped up where you see this person's in the crowd right next to Trump, like in the, stands. And she was going back and forth, and she caught this little figure, this black figure, go up on the top of the water tower. You see this little figure raise up and then raise down. So something was there. I don't know if it was a human being. I don't know if they have something on top of the water tower that can bob up and down, maybe with some wind impact or something. But there was something that was up there, and no one really is looking at that.
Maybe it's one of those little Boston Dynamic dogs. Maybe they've
Probably.
taught them to climb. Those
That's
are
what I was
terrifying when you put the AK-47 on the back of it.
Well, and it could have been a drone. It could have been anything, because word on the street is that they allowed this Thomas Crooks guy to fly a drone like an hour before the shooting. So he was able to fly a drone up, get all this information. And that's what just doesn't make sense. It seems like they wanted this person either to be the fall guy, or they allowed him to do so much stuff so that they could blame everything on him. Like, he came in with the rangefinder, he came in with the weapon, he was the only one up on the roof, he had a freaking ladder, and he was allowed to fly a drone. Not only that, but they identified him like moments before, like an hour, couple hours before the actual shooting. So he came into the event and then left. So it's just like, none of this really adds up to me.
Then there's the, like, what are the chances that guy just happens to be in like a BlackRock commercial as well, which is insane.
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting to me. I mean, BlackRock, I've never seen a BlackRock commercial in my life, so I don't know like how often they put out commercials. So it's very slim.
Was it a healthcare thing?
Honestly, I don't know.
I think
I don't
it was
know.
some sort of student thing by the looks of it. I saw a still of it. I haven't seen the actual footage of it. I don't know if has anybody seen the footage of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's on X, and I mean, it's basically him looking around in the classroom and whatnot. But it's like, just because he's in a BlackRock commercial doesn't mean that he's necessarily tied to BlackRock. I mean, he was chosen at some point, I guess, so you can make that tie. But to me, it's like, why do they not have any recent photos of this guy? All the photos that I'm seeing are of him in high school or him in school, super young. The guy who got shot on that building had a beard and had long hair at least.
Yeah, he looked a lot more mature.
Right. And so I'm just saying, does he not have friends? I get like he had like a minimal social media presence, or at least that's what we're being told, because if you go try to find anything on this guy, scrubbed. So it's like, why do we not have any recent photos of this man? Like, why are you just showing us school photos? That's very strange to me.
It's interesting because we know that the way Facebook works with how it collects pictures as well, even if you don't have a Facebook profile, it will find you in other people's photographs of you and group those together. So it essentially has, like, I'm not on Facebook, but I know there will be a collection of photographs of me from other people's photographs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Google
it doesn't make sense.
Google Photos works the exact same way. I mean, if you have Google Photos, it will identify your face and match you to every photo that you're in. So you're telling me that this event didn't have cameras set up, this didn't have surveillance set up, we couldn't identify, like, do you have footage of this man walking into the event? If you do, why not show that? Like, show what the man looks like, so that way we could say, oh yeah, this is the same guy. But we've seen none of that.
I always wondered as well, and maybe he did do something like this, but maybe it won't get released. Or it won't get released now anyway. That they don't do a video, like him doing a video, telling people what he's going to do, why he's doing it. With today's technology, they can do that. Like, tell the people why it is that you're choosing to do this.
Yeah, I don't know if he had like a note written or anything like that, but apparently he was on a Reddit forum and left a post saying like, "Check, I'm gonna do what I'm promised to do" or something this Saturday. He basically said something along those lines like, "Hey, look, I'm gonna do this." He didn't really specify shoot at the president, but you know, it's just one of those things where, you know, I even thought about, you know, if this was an AR-15 shooting at your head, and he turns his head right at the right moment. The bullet apparently goes right by his head, nips his ear. And I've even thought, the size of an AR-15 bullet, would that not take out more than just 2 centimeters? Would that like take a chunk off the top of your ear? Like, should a chunk of his ear be visibly missing from all the photos that we've seen? And I've talked to people on Telegram. I'm also on Telegram. That's a good place to go for a lot of one-on-one communication with me too, if people want to get on there. Strange Sauna Show. But people on there were saying that even if the bullet just whispers by you, the wind itself will cut through your ear like a knife. And
but that's what it could have been, because I suppose the argument would be that there's going to be a point, there has to be a point where it could do just that like amount of damage, and then a slightly further away it wouldn't do anything, or slightly further in you've got no head. So yeah, I've heard that like a lot from a lot of people about how this couldn't happen with it. And you go, well, I'm sure with distances there'd be a way for it to be possible. Space Monkey 42 just put an interesting thing up here saying, looking at the current evidence, it seems like the person who got bullied and just wanted to be famous fits the profile of mass shootings. I would argue that is exactly the narrative that's being made. That there in that sentence is perfect for what we're supposed to be thinking about this guy.
Yeah, and you also have to look at like who benefits from this. One of the comments that I just read over here, Moody Mongol says, all I know is a failed assassination technique is far worse for the assassins, as the target gets far more prestige. And for a presidential candidate, that's a gold star. It's like a gold star. So, I mean, this was right before the RNC. Trump hadn't picked Vance yet as his VP. So there's a lot of buildup. And, how do you get a lot of buildup? How do you bring in that gusto to this event? You have a failed assassination attempt. Mm-hmm. You get people, even just like Mark Zuckerberg is coming out saying like, that was pretty badass. Like for him to get up and pump his fists, like that's pretty freaking cool. And then right after the event, you get a full 100% endorsement from Elon Musk, pumping millions into his campaign. So it's like, I'm not saying the whole thing is rigged because we'll never know, but it does benefit Trump tremendously.
This is sealed the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
The Zuckerberg thing I thought was interesting. I think he is going to go through a period of rebuilding in the same way that Bill Gates rebuilt himself into the trusted figure he now appears to come across to everybody. Whereas you only have to go back like a decade and a half, and everybody knew that guy was a scumbag before he bought all the media. So the Zuckerberg coming out and saying that, you go, I know what you're doing. You're trying to deflect from what people already think of you, you lizard.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be, what is it, like the turnaround moments for a lot of these people, because they're going to have no other option. It's either that or continue going down, because I mean, everything that you do against Trump, there's an emotional impact that people now have when you try to analyze Donald Trump in a if you basically look at him as like evil, if you look at him like he did this on purpose, or if you do any analysis on him, you be critical of Donald Trump. It's right now, because the emotion is so high, because they almost took him out, right? That was my concern, is that it's the same thing with Elon Musk. Elon Musk bought Twitter, and then he allowed free speech. He came out with the Twitter files. He basically looked like he was allowing all this, patriot movement kind of, idealism. He was supporting freedom. And so when you do things like that, people tend to not look at you. They don't scrutinize you as much as they should, because they almost give you a pass. They go, well, this guy let me go on X and make a lot of money and have free speech, and there's no other platform that I could do that on. And so that's the fear, is that when you have a candidate like Donald Trump, who has so much prestige and he has so much emotion behind him, I feel like people aren't going to look under the rocks that they should and kind of scrutinize the details that need to be scrutinized.
I mean, it was difficult, like to watch that, like Trump get up and shake his fist. It's difficult to not have the Mark Zuckerberg reaction to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
like I looked at that and I thought, holy shit, this is exactly what Greg said may happen when you're on the show last. Not that Greg said he was going to get shot, but Greg said just watch out for...
Yeah, where were you, Greg? Where were you on that day?
I was not on a roof. I was nowhere near Pennsylvania. Yeah. No, and to be fair, there's a lot of people kind of calling that this would happen, but like the mortal head wound thing is definitely something that I don't know if it fits the narrative, to be honest, because, you have the 7 heads of the beast, and you can argue that there's been many beasts in the past, including Hitler, Alexander the Great, all the way up to the current state where Trump is the current beast. He will be the 7th and the 8th. That's also referenced in, I think, Revelation 17. But the other interesting correlations of this weekend, on the weekend of the 13th, is that you had the cremation of care ritual at the Bohemian Grove. That sparked
Didn't
back
more
up.
footage of that come out as well?
There was more footage of that came out the exact same day. So they were holding this Bohemian Grove cremation of care where they do quote unquote mock sacrifices to this owl god. And you're thinking, okay, well, that's strange. But then also the alignment in the skies, where you had this strange astrological event happen. Now, I was looking at this and I did a little research on it, and I found an article, I think from like Space or something. It was like one of the more credible sources, where it was talking about Uranus, Mars, and Algol. Algol is known as the demon star. They came into alignment on July 16th, so a few days after this happened. But you have this, they call it a celestial orb, which is like the residue of this event occurring from July 11th through the 20th. So you have this strange astrological alignment. You were right smack dab in the middle of this celestial orb of this alignment. And they were saying that this alignment invites rebellion, revolution, accidents, and sudden events. And they continue to say that Algol, the demon star, has a long-standing reputation in astrology for its intense and challenging energy. Historically, it has been associated with violence, danger, and dramatic transformations. Right? That sounds a lot like an assassination attempt to me. Mm-hmm. And it further goes on to say that Mars and Uranus conjunction is a classical signature for rebellion. This period may see heightened social and political unrest, with people demanding change. So you have this mixture of aggression, action, accidents, conflicts, unexpected developments, political kind of upheaval. So that's just another thing where I'm like, I do think that these people are into astrology, are into occultism, even Donald Trump included. I go through that in the Golden Dawn series. But my whole thing was like, I thought that Donald Trump, I had this pinned on my X. I got this one wrong. Okay. I thought Donald Trump was going to announce his vice president pick on either July 19th, 20th, or the 21st. And the reason I thought that is because he came out 666 days after his last day in office on November 15th, 2022, to announce that he was running for the 2024 presidency. So he waited And I remember there was a lot of talk about like, why is he waiting? Well, he should just come out and say that he's going to run. Because there was a while there, people were like, is he even going to run again? Like, what's he doing? He waited 666 days to say that he was running. And so I was thinking, okay, well, then he's going to wait until July 20th, because that's 6 weeks and 66 days before the election. I think that he's going to just wait until then. I was wrong on that. But what I wasn't wrong was that something did occur and Joe Biden dropped out. So they use this energy, and there's also a full moon tonight. I don't know if it's the hunter's moon or the something moon, but they use these full moon energies to reveal plans that they want to happen, or they try to use this energy to harness it, to direct it towards what they want to do, to illuminate the pathway of where they want to go. I don't know if it works. I don't know why they do it, but it seems that these events typically fall on full moons.
It is weird how you get these things. I don't know. Did you see the thing that was kicking about the time, like the time in the Bible chapter?
The time of the shooting?
Yeah.
Was it 6/11?
Yeah. And if you read Ephesians 6:11, the chapter starts, "Put on the full armor of God so that you can take a stand against devil's schemes. For our struggles is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers of the world, against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that on the day that evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground." It's worth reading the whole passage, but it's again one of those things that could mean nothing, but you just think there's so many little things, and especially when you look at the like the whole Q thing and stuff like that, which I still believe was some sort of psyop. You know, there was some reason for wanting to get that sort of stuff in people's heads.
Mm-hmm.
And then he happens to get shot at 11 minutes past 6, and then you read that chapter that's talking about somebody making a stand against spiritual forces. It's just, there's too many coincidences at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the armor of God. I think that's referenced in a lot of the Q posts as well. But I mean, to be honest, 6:11. There's a lot of chapter 6:11s in the Bible, not just Ephesians. So I mean, you could cherry pick that verse out and say, oh, he was protected by God. But the other thing is that you could also say that was the inverse. 6:11 is 9/11. You know, is the inverted 9/11. So 9/11 has been tied to Donald Trump with the sheep commercial that he did. He was a big part of 9/11, the event down in New York City.
First person I heard interviewed about it of note on that day, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he claimed that now that the towers were gone, his tower was now the tallest in New York City. So he was kind of boasting about that. But it's one of those things.
I'm slightly upset that he didn't come out in at least like the RNC rally and give it something like, "Nobody dodges bullets like I do. I'm the best at dodging bullets. Not Kennedy, not either Kennedys." It would have been brilliant.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things where you definitely notice the numbers. I noticed that right off the bat, 6/11. The guy with the fake Trump visor with the fake orange hair, they were interviewing him, I think, at 7/11, which 7/11 has been, I mean, if you think about September, Sept is 7, just like Oct is 8. But October is our 10th month, not our 8th month. September is our 9th month, not our 7th month. So September 11th should really be 7/11, right?
Yeah.
And I've even heard, and I think I went over this in one of my episodes, but 7/11, Trump actually called 9/11 7/11 during one of his speeches. So it's like, why would you get that wrong? Like seemingly he did that on purpose, but I don't know. I mean, you never know if any of this stuff's on purpose. It's just, it looks like it is. But
well, maybe that's what Biden's doing. He's doing it on purpose, every time he makes a slip of the tongue.
Yeah, misspellings matter, right? That's the whole Q thing. Right? So maybe your speech matters too. I don't know.
What did you think to the preacher? The speaking about him getting hit in the ear.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I was going to go into is there was a lot of alignments with the number 3. And so like Crooks, the shooter, Thomas Crooks, had 3 loaded magazines on him. There were 3 victims other than Trump. Corey Comparator, they keep saying that he's a firefighter, but he's a volunteer firefighter. He worked at like a plastics manufacturing place. But CC, Corey Comparator, CC is 33. So the shooting occurred on 17. So if you look at it the day and the month format, 13/7. So 137. The 137th prime number is 33. And 137, if you take the Freemason square and compass, the angles of the square and compass is 47 degrees and 90 degrees, and you add those up, it's 137. So I found that was very interesting. Trump will be the 47th president. But the ear prophecy also happened 3 months and 30 days before the shooting. So there's that 3-3 again.
They love that 33.
They do. But yeah, his name was Brandon Biggs. I don't know if you've done any research on the guy, but he's had a lot of failed premonitions that have never really sparked true. He's talked about like tornadoes of the speeds of 150 miles an hour that no one's seen, but like, tornadoes do get up to like 200 miles an hour, and just random things like that. But yeah, he did say that there would be an attempt on Trump's life where a bullet would fly by Trump's ear. It would break his eardrum or rupture his eardrum. I'm not sure if that happened. I don't think it did. But he also did say that Trump would subsequently become more religious and would win the election. So he was saying that like after this event, Trump would become more religious, saying like, I'm more about God. He also did say in the RNC speech, like, I'm not supposed to be here today. I'm not supposed to be alive. God was with me. So you're seeing a lot of stuff on Truth Social. I don't know if you guys have a Truth Social account.
No.
I mean, that is like MAGA land. I mean, if
Yeah.
you want to go just see what MAGA world is all about, you can just join Truth Social. You'll see a lot of memes with Jesus and Trump. I'll just put it that way.
Maybe we should make one, Lee.
I think we should make one.
We'll have a gander.
It's got to be better than Threads.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you'll definitely depending on who you follow too, but I mean, no matter who you follow, you'll get recommended some strange stuff. Also, yeah, right. But that Brandon Biggs guy, he also said that the economy was going to crash worse than the Great Depression. And I do agree that the economy will crash, and I think it's going to happen under Trump. And I think that the whole deep state, if you want to call them that, whatever, I think they're waiting for Trump to get back in order to pull the plug on it. Trump was calling this out in 2016 when he was running for president, but he hasn't brought it up ever since. He talks about how great the economy was. He also talks about how much inflation is happening right now under Joe Biden, but a lot of that was due to the COVID expenditure that he did in the last year of his presidency. I mean, when you spend more money in your last year of your presidency than any president has done in their entire presidency, I mean, in excluding, Roosevelt back in the Great Depression, I mean, you're going to have inflation. You're printing money at exorbitant amounts, and you're going to see the decrease of the dollar. So it's just finally catching up to us. So I don't know. There's stuff like that where he doesn't really have a full understanding of it, or he doesn't want to bring it up, or he's trying to do a political move to make him look like it's not his fault. Mm-hmm. But I do think a depression is coming. I don't know if it's going to be worse than the Great Depression. I don't know if like we're going to have stockouts and all that crap. We did see a cyber attack. You guys were saying that you had some impacts on that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, well, just over here we had like planes grounded all over the place. The people can get into banking apps and stuff like that. I was saying lots of our stuff, like our podcast stuff, got breached. I don't know if there was any connection to what was going on, or it was just like an opportunist moment for other groups to go out and try and like break into stuff.
For sure.
I can't help think that that's timely though. So if it's not, like let's look at Trump as being this like the great opposer of the deep state. To me, for this outage to come, when it did, it was one of two things. It was either a dry run for in the middle of the election, or it was a outward show of power, as if to say, look at what we can just do. We can just turn shit off if we have to.
Yeah, and I was even looking at it as like a let's change the subject type of thing, you know, like, hey, Trump got assassinated, but hey, don't forget, like, we still have all this stuff that can happen. Like, let's change the subject, just like Biden dropping out, because the news is focusing on how brave Trump is, how good he's doing. The polls are just basically booming for Trump right now. And it's like, we have to change the subject. We have to control the narrative somehow. Let's have one of the largest cyber attacks that we've ever had. And if you look at CrowdStrike, who was impacted by that, people were saying, I don't know if this is kind of a stretch to me, but when Donald Trump came up from the Secret Service pit, he had 2 streaks of blood on his cheek, right? And it looked like a V almost, or like 2 streaks. And if you look at the CrowdStrike logo, it's the same 2 red strikes.
See, I don't know what CrowdStrike is. I don't know what the company is.
No, me neither.
So they from my understanding, and it's been a while since I've done the research on this, but they're kind of like a database or like a data structuring system. And I believe they were based over in Ukraine. And Donald Trump, yes, Donald Trump, that infamous phone call where he said it was the most perfect phone call in the world. He was on the phone with Zelensky talking about the CrowdStrike server and how a lot of the Clinton emails might be on that. And also, there's a lot of stuff. CrowdStrike was hired to investigate Seth Rich's laptop. To this date, the FBI nor the CIA, the intelligence agencies have not looked personally at Seth Rich's laptop. They gave it over to CrowdStrike to perform the independent analysis of the laptop, and they took their word for it. So our intelligence agencies, Comey even admitted this while he was testifying, that CrowdStrike was the only independent analysis that was performed on the Seth Rich laptop. So there's a lot of stuff that CrowdStrike knows, and there's a lot that apparently that they can do. They have control over a lot of different avenues. I mean, you're looking at, you were saying banking, airlines. I mean, don't know.
I feel like whatever's going to happen after this, and I do think there is going to be like some sort of Great Depression. I feel whatever they're going to do, it's going to take us to a cashless society completely. Mm-hmm. They're going to control the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the argument for if Trump were the Antichrist, or if he were the first beast of the Antichrist trio, right? The dragon gives rise to the initial beast, and we're in the year of the dragon, so that's where I'm thinking the election year of the dragon will give rise to the first beast. The second beast will take over from the first beast, and that's speculated to be Elon Musk. And now you have Elon Musk's full endorsement of Donald Trump. Elon Musk has Neuralink. There is talk that Elon Musk will initiate the chip. And there's a whole episode that I did on Elon Musk and the Antichrist involvement, where you have a video of his supposed nanny. Now, take it for a grain of salt, because this lady could be lying out of her ass. She said that she was his nanny, and there was like this fortune teller or something that came up to her and said, that boy, he's going to bring about the mark of the beast. Like he won't be the Antichrist, but he will bring about the mark of the beast system. So if there's a downfall like the Weimar Republic in Germany, they were burning their cash instead of wood because cash was cheaper than wood. Like that's how worthless their dollar bills were. If we're in that such a desperate position where we need some sort of payment processing unit, what more of a perfect time to introduce the mark of the beast and say, hey, you will not be able to buy, trade, or sell without this chip in your arm, hand, forehead, wherever they decide to put it. So I think the depression will come, and then you'll have this push to have the chip.
And then, like me and Lee have said on this show, oh, we'll never do. We won't get the chip, but if we can't actually live and feed our families,
right? What would you do? Yeah,
we saw what people did.
Like, yeah, exactly.
With the vaccine,
Yeah, so I think the big C little V jib jab was the first round of, hey, what will these people do to maintain their work, to get a paycheck?
That's what I look at it now as. It was it almost doesn't matter. It almost doesn't matter what the virus was. It doesn't matter if it was. It doesn't matter what the jabs were or what they would or wouldn't do. It's just the fact that it was the best focus test of the will of humanity. That's it just laid bare who everybody was. It laid bare the people that would be the outliers. It showed you the people that would just fall in line straight away.
Mm-hmm.
It more importantly, I think, showed if you get enough people on board with something, they will lie to themselves and everybody else around them to keep like the veneer of normality around them. I don't know about you, but I know personally people now that have medical conditions which are quite weird. I know people that have died, and if you can say anything, like I could turn around and say, yeah, it might be rabies, or it could be Dave, he like, we know he had that thing with animals. It could be some sort of infection there. But if I even suggest that it could have been the jab that has hurt these people, you're shouted down like you're a fucking moron.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it was a compliance measuring stick. That's all it was. It was to say, okay, who can we trust to do what we want them to do, and who will just raise their middle finger to us no matter what. But I mean, the same thing is happening with Donald Trump, I would say, is like, you can't really question him, or you're looked at as a libtard, or you're looked at as like, you're a crazy leftist lunatic who blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, no, like, we have to rationalize everything that Trump is doing and not be afraid to criticize the man, So I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I do think that some sort of an economy crash will happen. I think the internet will get plugged or unplugged or whatever you want to say. It'll slow down to the point. I think all of the stuff in the Q drops will happen. I think it was a revelation of the method type of thing where they're disclosing what they're going to do before they do it. Maybe to avoid karmic debt. Who the hell knows? I don't know why they do these things, but I think the intention of the Q movement is not what the Q movement thinks it is. I think it's there as a pathway for you to look at it and be like, okay, yeah, this stuff is going to happen. So why even tell us in the first place? If the intent was, let's tell these people what we're going to do so that way we can gain their trust, then that's what I think the whole purpose was. It's like, hey, if we tell them that we're going to do these things and then we actually, it comes out that we did do it, they're going to trust us, right? So if you're a full-on Q supporter and everything on that board comes true, you're going to be like Teflon Don, right? And people who have been following you for a while would be like, dude, I'm going to trust this guy because everything that he's been saying came true. I mean, Alex Jones is trying to do that, right? With his prediction with Joe Biden and all of his predictions that he's had. So do they have a playbook? And that's the whole thing, is like the whole Q movement is like the playbook is known, but what's the playbook? Is the playbook occultism? Is it Liber 77 written by Aleister Crowley? You know, is it Thelema? Like, we don't know what this playbook is, but we know that they do things on full moons. We know that they're into gematria. We know that they wear the red bracelet of Kabbalah. So it's like, what does all this mean? What is the playbook?
The whole Q thing as well was also it was a really good tool for shouting anybody down, like to just write somebody off as like a QAnon conspiracy theorist, regardless of what they were talking about. It just worked wonders. It worked wonders in the media. I mean, you guys, when you were the part of My American, like felt the hammer of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's unfortunate that I mean, I fell into the whole Q trap, and not that I think the stuff is real. I think it's going to happen, but I think the intent is different. So getting people to start following the Q movement and believe in it in the way that they do, I do feel somewhat responsible for that, because I know we had a larger audience back in the day with Pardon My American. So hopefully everybody can still see and analyze the whole thing from, you know, 1,000-foot view. They're not just taking it with, you know, bated breath. Like everything is like waiting to happen. And when it happens, then it's the plan to save the world. Because I think that Trump, it's either one of two things. Either Trump is like completely fooling everybody, and he's going down this path where he has to become part of the bad guys in order to get rid of the bad guys, right? Like Batman or something. Like he has to entangle and socialize with the bad guys. He could have a lot of dirt on these people. I've seen some evidence that one of his mentors, the Plaza Hotel, whoever he was hanging out with at the Plaza Hotel, when he bought the Plaza Hotel, where a lot of blackmailing occurred. And he was even on camera talking about, I remember watching back in the day, it was The Apprentice. I used to be an Adam Carolla fan, like a massive Adam Carolla fan. So I watched the season where Adam Carolla was on that. And Ivanka Trump was on there saying, you know, my father always told me to look for cameras in the hotel rooms because you never know who's going to be watching you. Right. And, you know, where to find these secret hidden cameras in hotel rooms. So it's like, why would Trump know that? It's like, oh, because he's a mogul. He knows these things, but he's been around it, and he might know who does that kind of stuff, what they do with that kind of material that they capture on you. So there is a possibility that Trump is like flying under the radar of this stuff. He's using their system, like their Kabbalah, whatever playbook, and he's turning it on them. There is a chance of that. I don't know. Like, I would not put all my eggs in that basket, right? Because he could have blackmail on everybody. Because my whole big question is, like, if he is the one man that's standing in the way, you've seen that meme, right? This isn't about me, it's about you, and I'm the only one standing in their way, and it's Donald Trump pointing his finger, right? So if Donald Trump is the single man that is going against the deep state, why is he still alive?
Because
why
Captain fucking Scarlet, and they couldn't kill him.
I mean, there's, you know, you could say a lot of what ifs, but I mean, you've seen a bunch of these people who have turned on the deep state. I mean, you look at people who've been calling out like foreign leaders, right? That want to get away from the Rothschild dollar system, and they want to start their own monetary system. They instantly get taken out. You can make it look like a heart attack. You can make it look like a big accident. You can make it look like anything. I'm not calling for Donald Trump to get injured, by the way. I'm just saying, why is he not dead if he is the one thing that's standing in your way? And the question that, or the answer that always comes up is like, well, if they kill him, he'll be a martyr. You know, he'll be even bigger than what he is right now. And I'm like, he already is a martyr, especially after the assassination
Absolutely.
attempt, right?
And the Mark thing only works if there's somebody there to fill the gap. And I don't know if something would have happened to Trump. I don't know who would have jumped in to continue that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so
my thing is like it's already a movement, because to be a
Mm.
martyr, you start a movement. There's already a massive movement behind MAGA, right? And so it's like that never made sense to me. And the only thing that makes sense to me is if he is a good guy and he's not part of the system, then he has blackmail on everybody. That's the only thing that makes sense in my mind why he's still alive.
Mm.
What do you think would have happened if that bullet had been an inch to the side?
You know, it's hard to say, but people say civil war. People say that they would, you know, rise up and go out in the streets and do all this stuff. But I don't know. Honestly, like after COVID and the compliance that I've seen, I don't know if anybody would do anything. I think they would wait for the official story to come out. The official story would be a bunch of bullshit. And then everybody would be like, hey, why put your gun away? What they're telling you, it was like this lone guy, and he was a registered Republican, you know, he was like, you know, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know, honestly, like it's hard to say what would happen. I mean, January 6th was the closest thing that we had to, if we wanted to, quote unquote, take over the government, and no one did.
Mm.
So
In fact, you had to be let in by security guards to get it going.
yeah. And I know that the circumstances were completely different right there and then, because that's just you're going there to show up as in support of Donald Trump, saying, hey, we think that the election results were incorrect. But it turned into this violent kind of, you know, there was some bad actors in there. The intelligence agencies were infecting the whole operation. But I think that, yeah, there is an opportunity for certain people to rise up and do all that stuff. But when it comes to, I mean, you look at Trump supporters, a lot of them have families. They have kids. They have to take care. You know, what are you going to do? Just leave your house and go start a war with you and your gun? Like you and your buddies? Like that's the whole thing is, how are you going to communicate with anybody? How are you going to join this secret militia or army to do anything? Because there's mass surveillance everywhere. No one, like, they won't let the American people start a revolution.
Yeah, I'm with you there, because like you say, with the compliance that was shown during COVID, I think that you might have ended up with some sort of domestic terrorist cell or something like that being like formed. But this whole idea of like the people standing up and saying no, the people have got shit to lose, you know. And I think things have got to get, like we've seen like governments overthrown in different countries, and as bad as things can get pretty much anywhere in the West, we are still incredibly privileged with the way we live and like how comfortable things are.
Yeah.
I think things have to get uncomfortable for that stuff to happen. What our government seems to be really good at doing is keeping us just fucked over enough where we still think we have something to push forward to. Because I mean, even the whole idea, I've always thought about the "Make America Great Again" thing, and the reason it kind of resonates with certainly people from sort of mid to late 30s and upwards is the message. Realistically, if you break it down, is 1998 was really good. If we could just go back to around about 1998 and start from scratch again, and we can try and iron out some of these problems, that would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I see Trump as. I think if he is on the level and he's not like some sort of nefarious actor, he remembers a time where things were more prosperous for everybody. And I like that. That's what I hope he's after, is just he sees that he wants a future for, obviously he has a vastly different idea of what the future for his children would be than say what I see the future of my children. but I'm sure he wants Baron Trump to be in New York buying like hotels and stuff like that, and like living with the same opportunities he had, and not drifting into this strange socialist, like financially constricted world we seem to be like headed towards. So that's kind of why I've got I if there's a hope cap I have for him, that's when I put the hope cap on.
Yeah. I mean, that's what everybody hopes and prays for. It's that, you know, he is cleaning out the system, you know, and it's, I mean, he had the chance. We can argue about, you know, he was being tricked, he was being duped and all this stuff. It's like, okay, well, why won't he be tricked and duped again?
Yeah, I thought it was 4D chess last time.
Right. And so it's like, how many excuses will we have with this man? And how many times do we move the goalposts to, hey, it wasn't his fault? Like, at what point should the man have the knowledge, enough knowledge to say, this isn't the right thing to do? We shouldn't do this, you know? And so I get it that everybody makes mistakes, but when you're at the level of Donald Trump, one mistake can be catastrophic. So I was asked on the show, like, what would it take for me to trust Donald Trump? Right. And I don't know what that would be, because honestly, I think he's like a snake oil salesman. I think he says a lot of stuff. He does, you know, the economy was great under Donald Trump, but the economy is doing great under an illusion. It's a bubble. It's going to pop because we have so much frickin' debt. We don't know what we're going to do. So to say that the economy was great, I feel like that's kind of a facade, and I'm trying to massage something out that it's not that simple. But, you know, I would ask the other thing is, like, for somebody who follows Donald Trump and sees that he is a good man and sees that he is trying to destroy the quote deep state, what would it take you to distrust him? What is the one thing that he could do where you go, that's my line, he crossed it, I can't go with this guy anymore? Because to me, that point was Operation Warp Speed. It was everything that he did to support Warp Speed. It was his engagement in it, his support of it, his continued
support in it.
Yeah, continued support in bringing up how much the miracle medicine has saved lives. He fails to bring up anything about anything wrong with it. And yeah, you could say he was tricked, but it's like, okay, well, then do you not do any research before you hire these people? Like, why did you not fire Fauci? I get, like, there would be a lot of pushback, but you were already getting a lot of pushback. Like, you're Donald Trump. You are the most hated man and the most loved man in the world. So it's like you have the option just to go full ham. And that's what he's saying that he's going to do when he gets in. It's like the time for revenge and justice, right? That's what he's highlighting justice on his tour right now. So if you're highlighting that now and you're going to do it because more of the public thinks that it's okay because you've had an assassination attempt, you were arrested, you've had multiple indictments, and all of it's bullshit. Everybody sees it, but you're still going to have that love-hate there. So I'm just saying, like, if you're going to do the right thing, do the right thing when it matters the most. And to me, when it mattered the most was when my family and my job were on the line. It mattered the most when all of my friends and my family were getting injected with a foreign substance that they thought would help them. And it mattered the most right now when everybody else is saying, hey, look, this guy can save us. I'm like, how? Like, that was one of the worst things that I've ever lived through. And I think it was one of the biggest, I don't want to say psyop. I don't know where this, you know, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I think that was one of the biggest social tests that we've ever gone through. Like 9/11 was pretty big, but the big C little V event, splitting up families, splitting up friends, you know, the damage that alone has caused. I'm not blaming it all on Trump, but there was a lot that he could have done to avoid the jib jab, not say that it was great. He could have stuck on his path with alternative medicine. The paper that came out refuting HCQ was rejected because it was not peer reviewed. That happened within weeks. So I'm saying there was a road to continuing down the therapeutic pathway, which he should have taken. And I would have respected. I feel like it would have saved a lot of lives. But why didn't he do it? I don't know.
Well, look what that has done to teenagers when they were growing up through that time, that those 3-4 years. Look how many people are messed up now.
Kids like I mean, I've got a young son, and you can how can I put this? You can tell the parents that were wearing masks all the time and around, because you can see the stunted like development of speech in young children. You can fucking see it there. The Fauci thing I found really interesting. Purely the fact I would love to ask RFK if he tried to contact Trump after Fauci was like in the position he was in.
RFK Jr. has a book out called The Real Anthony Fauci. I haven't read it yet, but I heard that everything along the lines is his communications, what has happened. I heard it's all in that book, and I heard it's great, but I just haven't read it yet.
But it's because he must have been writing that as this was unfolding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you would think that Trump must have been aware of some of the stuff that this guy had been involved with in the
100%.
past.
Him and Kennedy are like, they're actually good friends, aren't they?
Trump and Kennedy?
Yeah, Kennedy Jr. I'm sure they are.
I don't know. Honestly, like, there was a phone call. I don't know if you saw the leaked phone call right before Trump announced J.D. Vance as his VP. There was kind of motion in the air that he might be picking RFK Jr. to be his running mate, because there was a leaked phone call where, Robert Kennedy Jr. had his phone on speakerphone and he was being recorded by somebody else's phone. And the conversation was with Donald Trump talking about a need to restructure childhood vaccines. And Trump was saying, like, you look at the doses, there's so much in there. There's 8, 9, 10 different things that you're getting at the same time, right? And he's like, back when we were kids, you just get one, then you come back, get another one a couple months later. So I think that he was being recorded, honestly, because if it were the announcement, or like if he were to say, hey, I want you to be my VP, he would want that recorded as like a historical moment. But it got leaked out. RFK Jr. kind of apologized for it, even though it's like, well, dude, why did you keep it? Why did you record that? So I don't know how much they like each other. RFK Jr. has said that,
I think I'm mixing that up with, wasn't Trump friends with Kennedy's son, the guy that died in the plane crash?
supposedly, RFK Jr., who a lot of the Q people still think that is
he's
alive.
And he's supposed to be coming back. Yeah,
He was in the background, wasn't he, with a hat on at the Trump rally?
Vincent Fusca is now RFK Jr. No, I don't know. So I'm just saying, I've been there, done that. I've went down the road of thinking, hey, what if RFK Jr. was still alive? That would be pretty awesome for him to come out and just be like, yeah, I'll be your VP. Let's get some revenge. But pretty sure the guy is dead. RFK Jr., I don't know that much about, like, I think that he has some liberal stances that make I would never support the guy, because I think that he would put in liberal justices, which would destroy our country even more. But he does talk about, issues that are very important. He highlights the medical stuff that I think everybody needs to follow, whether it's, the clean water, clean air. I think the whole climate change thing is an agenda to suck money out of people for carbon tax. But you even have Elon Musk supporting a carbon tax. He's called for it numerous times. He supports universal basic income. He wants a technocracy on Mars. So I'm seeing these people back Donald Trump, and you see JD Vance, who was pumped full of money with I forget his name off the Steele something. Christopher, no, I forget his name. Peter Thiel. So Peter Thiel is also kind of like an Elon Musk character into that technocracy type of, I'm going to pump myself with young blood to keep me younger type of movement. Bitcoin, all the digital currency stuff. So, yeah, all your audience is saying Peter Thiel. So I don't know. Trump keeps on surrounding himself by these questionable figures. And if you ask me, like, what do I think the odds are that he drains the swamp? I'm going to say 5%. I don't trust that he's going to be doing much, but we'll see. We'll see.
I thought the VP guy, because I didn't know who that guy was until he was announced as vice president. And I thought what he said about the UK was hilarious. He was pretty on the money there when he was talking about what's going on over here.
Oh yeah, what did he say? I missed that.
He well, I'll say on the money. I'll probably get myself into some trouble here, depending on who listens to it. He said they were having a briefing talking about which would be the first Islamic country to get to have a nuclear weapon. He said, well, considering Labour just got in the UK, it's probably going to be Great Britain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he laid into the UK pretty fucking hard. Like he made it, yeah, and it's depending which way you look at it, you could struggle to argue against a lot of his points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, but it's like, dude, why wasn't the wall finished when Trump was in? You could say money was an issue, priorities, all this other stuff. He was dealing with a lot of different things. So I get the argument for it, but you could also make the argument that the wall wasn't finished so that Joe Biden could let in a bunch of people. And the chart that Trump was looking at was about all those people that Joe Biden let in, which saved his life, supposedly, right? So I'm just saying they need the story. And if the whole Q movement revolves around Trump losing on purpose to let Joe Biden win so that way people can see it to wake up, right? I think one of the quotes is like, sometimes you can't show people or sometimes you can't tell people, you must show them, which implies that all of this shit that we're going through is on purpose. And to me, that's not acceptable. If you know what the outcome is going to be, there's ways to explain. Maybe there's not, but there's always a way to explain it to people where you can say, hey, look, this is what's going on. Here's the activities that were recorded. We have this blueprint that they were going to follow. Maybe you did need to show everybody, but along the way, people are murdered. People lose their jobs. People lose their children. It's like, how unsafe do people have to be? And a lot of that reminds me of, occultism, or like you do whatever you can for the greater good, and it's like, is that what America is about? Do we sacrifice the one to save the many? I don't know.
I mean, I think we could argue that we do that every day. It's even just doing this show right now, when you consider the minerals that have to be mined to do what the sort of stuff we do technology wise. We know it happens, and you kind of have to turn that part of your brain off to go, yeah, but I really need a mobile phone. So
this is it though. Like, and you were saying this earlier, that they keep us quite comfortable, and we will go through shit, But I think the only if they're going to do this whole Neuralink mark of the beast thing, that's what they need to do. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, Greg, when you were talking about COVID being the testing ground for this.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we do live pretty comfortable lives, even though people think it's pretty shit, but I guarantee you go to some other countries, you're going to feel a little bit more shitter.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to do. All they need to do is turn off the money tap and say, you either do this, and we have to do this because otherwise everything's going to get destroyed.
But then you got to think for what end, right? So people turn around and say, like, especially in conspiracy circles, will say, "Well, it's for control." Well, they've already got control. Like this is like our media is infiltrated. You know, the entertainment is infiltrated. We see this. You know, it's one of the things I think the progressive storylines in pop culture and media has shown us is the fact that money doesn't actually mean anything to these people, because like Disney is fucking hemorrhaging like decades of goodwill that it had with its own fan base right now, and it just keeps plowing ahead, and it doesn't care how like it destroying franchise after franchise. I still find it hilarious that you take like Buzz Lightyear from one of Disney's most beloved franchises, and they just like jizzed it away. Like all of the goodwill that they had with that franchise is just gone. So as far as this, like the end goal, it has to be something that's more than power, because they already have power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why, you know, I asked the question. I'm going to try to skirt around this as I can here. The miracle medicine.
Mm-hmm.
We know it didn't work. We know that they wanted to pump it into everybody's bodies. For what reason?
Yeah.
Right. And there was clear evidence, you know, from a certain sect of doctors that were being ignored and being taken off social media and, you know, basically muted. They were trying to tell you that, hey, this stuff was not working how it should be. The tests that we are running to show that you do have it don't even show that you do have it. I do think that it was real. Like it was definitely an illness, because I contracted it and it was weird. It was unlike a flu. Yep. It was different than a flu. But the thing is, it's like, why did they want this medicine in everybody? And, you know, you could say money, you know, and to me, that makes a lot of sense. It's like, well, they obviously want a lot of money, but they already got their money because the government gave them all the money. Trump printed all the money and gave it to the pharmaceutical companies. So they already got the money up front. So why do you want people to continually pump this stuff into their bodies?
Especially if, I'll say that for YouTube, if it's harmful, because even a good crack dealer knows that you need to sell good. No, that you need to sell good product because you don't want to kill your customer.
Mm-hmm. And so they're approving it for children under 6 months. They're giving it to everybody, and multiple doses. So I'm saying, what is the end goal there? And the only thing I can think of is like some sort of population reduction plan, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're looking at like controlling and having this mass surveillance of a population that is this large, it's going to be hard to maintain them. So you have to bring that number down in order to make it more maintainable. So I think that there is something to that. There's a lot of evidence out there to suggest that certain people with a lot of money and influence would like to reduce the population. I mean, who was it? It was the king before King Charles. King Philip? I think it was King Philip.
He Prince Philip. He was never king because he was married to he's married to the Queen. Yeah.
when he was interviewed, he said when he dies, he wished to come back as a virus so he could contribute to
Yep,
the population
true.
growth and bring it down, right? And yes, American Vindica show says Georgia Guidestones. So there was that limited to 500,000, right? So who wrote the Georgia Guidestones?
And they've just been taken out as well, Greg.
Right. And so you're hiding the evidence that even existed. So people can't even just go point to that as like, oh, well, look, it says over there. Well, where? So if that gets erased from the internet, I mean, say bye-bye. So I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of evidence to show that there is a plan to reduce the population. I don't know if it's like drastic as they say it is. I don't know if it's 500 million or whatever the number on the Georgia Guidestones was. So I don't know. But I just look at that and I go, well, if that is the plan to reduce the population, do you want to be left here on this earth? Do you want to be part of that plan? Do you support that plan? Like, what would you do to defend yourself against that plan?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can trick people to say, hey, look, this isn't the plan at all, like you're just being a conspiracy theorist, then you're going, okay, well, everybody will walk into the gas chambers, you know?
And what does the world look like if that plan goes ahead? You know, what they're going to do with it?
Yeah, and so I don't recall what started this conversation, but it was like, why would they do this? So you said they have all the power, right? Yeah. So depopulation is one. And then there must be, I'm exploring this idea about free will and about mass consciousness. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Global Consciousness Project.
Yeah.
No, not what's that?
So they statistically proved, and this is, you know, take it for a grain of salt. They have a paper out, but they put random number generators all around the world. I think like hundreds of these random number generators. And it was just producing a number like 101010. And when significant events happened in the world, these random number generators would correlate. So they would all start doing the same numbers. And they were trying to see if this mass consciousness can basically shift what's going on in the world. And what does that energy do? What does it look like? I don't know. How is it influencing these random number generators to all produce the same number? I don't know. But if you can statistically prove that there is a mass consciousness, and that if you can get people to fear something, to love something, to all think the same thing, there's energy there. What they can do with it, I don't know. But there must be something with free will and having the people choose to follow Donald Trump. It's not just like hey, I'm going to vote for him because I don't want to vote for Biden. It's they want you to feel it, and you personally mark that dot on your ballot and say, I am confident. I want this. I want Trump. And, you know, I wrote something on Telegram a while back, and I was like, well, so I'm not saying he is, but if he were the Antichrist, what a bigger ploy to create the scenario to have people crave you, you know, like we need Donald Trump, right? And if you were the Antichrist thinking like, hey, I want this adoration, I want people to worship me. I mean, this is a form of worship without being religious. You know, you're being worshipped as this leader, and you're saying, we want you. We are choosing you. And also, what a bigger kick in the face to God, saying, hey, God, you gave man free will. Look what I made them do. I made them worship me.
I think you could look at that two ways as well, if even just away from worshiping Trump as such, because what he's done, I think regardless of whether everything we've said this evening is bullshit or not, I think the division that's happened, like politically, probably doesn't happen to the degree it does without Trump entering politics. And I don't even just mean that in the US. I think over here in the UK as well. Like that was the beginning of political tribalism, or at least I think it was in like sort of in my lifetime. So you haven't just created one idol, you've created two, because the left worship their idol. I mean, the left were worshiping a senile old man, like trying to convince everybody that this guy that didn't know what day of the week it was, barely knew if he was his wife or not sometimes, yet they will lie to themselves that he was fit to do the job he was, because they hated Trump so much. So it's you've created 2 points of worship there that aren't God. So that's
I mean, I would say anybody that I've seen on TV that has said that Biden speaks total sense, to me, that they must be just actors, because how anybody can stand up and say that guy was good for your country, Greg, it's crazy to me, because he's like my granddad. Well, my old granddad that's no longer with us, but he had the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
He had dementia, or I don't know if it's Alzheimer's or dementia, but it's one of them, 100%.
Yeah, and you have to see look at it from the angle of, did these people even see the clips of Joe Biden fumbling? Like, I've heard the argument, I think like Dave or Chris made the argument of like, well, if you're that into your own bubble and you're only watching MSNBC, CNN, they're only showing you the good stuff of Biden.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, if they're on X, no matter what, you will be introduced a video of Biden into your feed, regardless of what your choices are. You could start a brand new account and you will see a video of Joe Biden, like fumbling down some stairs, or you'll see him doing something. But I think the media on the left spins that in a way saying, hey, look, they're calling these cheap fakes where, it's not at all the time. It's just these random points where Joe Biden either stumbles in a speech or literally stumbles on stage. It's not like a systemic thing where everybody who's watching the clips and you listen to Joe Biden speak, it's the first words coming out of his mouth that he fumbles, right? And even the interview that he did right after the debate, it was the first sentence. Like, you couldn't understand a couple words. So I'm just saying, like, either everybody was, just completely shutting it out, saying, hey, blue, no matter who, I'm going to, go with Biden because he's not Donald Trump. Those people have a decision to make now, because whoever they choose, whether it's going to be Harris or Hillary Clinton, we'll see what they have to do. I don't know.
Who's your money on?
What's that?
Who's your money on?
Who's my money on? Well, so I've said Big Mike. I actually have $1. I have $1 bet going right now that Michelle Obama will join the race, but I think it looks more like Hillary. Like, they're trying to set this up again, where it's like round 2 of this, battle between Hillary and Trump. And this is where I think the Q stuff will be real. I think that they're going to throw Hillary out there, and then they're going to get her arrested. And they're going to make it look like Trump is being a dictator, arresting his political opponents.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it's only a matter of time before either she croaks and dies, or she gets arrested for some of her Clinton Foundation, whether you want to call it espionage, even just paying for the dossier, the Christopher Steele dossier, that alone should get her arrested. But like the 33,000 emails, I guarantee they're going to find those. The CrowdStrike server probably has it. I failed to mention that I saw somewhere in the chat, CrowdStrike was the investigation that came out with Russiagate. They were the only ones that were doing that intrinsic whatever investigation, right? that said, "Oh yeah, this was Cozy Bear and whatever bear. It was the Russians that hacked the server. It wasn't Seth Rich."
Do you think the video's real?
The drip.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Mm.
I don't know how deep into like torture everybody is really. You know, I've heard about Epstein Island, and then when you get kids involved, it's torture no matter what. So I mean, you could argue that. But like as far as physical pain and the cutting of skin and all that stuff, I don't know. Because I used to think like, oh yeah, no doubt, like these guys are satanic. They're going to be doing stuff with blood. They're going to put like, you know, like with their Marina Abramovic spirit cooking, they're going to be doing a bunch of stuff with bodily fluids and blood and all that stuff. But now I'm like, let's see what the proof brings. And it's going to be hard because it's going to be very limited. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we won't be shown the entire picture of what happens or what happened at that island. But I think if it did happen, if that drip video is real, it would have happened there. I feel like.
Yeah, well, I mean, the supposed stills were supposed to be from Comic Ping Pong, weren't they? The frames that came out. I what gets me with that is what how does something like that come out? It's like it's perfect because you can't say you've seen that. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't just go and download that for a look to see what happened. It's not it's beyond conspiracy theory at that point.
If someone said to me, it's here, and you can go watch it here, and you'll see that this happened, and there would be no repercussions, I would not want to see that shit.
I'd always have to look through the door. I'm far too fucking curious, and I know it would fucking damage me forever. But I've spent too long like looking into stuff like this, questioning my own sanity about it, to not like lift the blanket off it to see if it's real or not.
No, I think part of the whole, like, you can't just tell people about it, you got to show them. I feel like that is part of this, where people do have to see what people are capable of, especially like if it's celebrities, people who are in the limelight that have respect and you even maybe voted for. I think that you would need to see that in order to really grasp who are these people, you know, and how did this ever happen? Because if a little child went through that and no one knows, like that's pretty bad. Like, so we got to explore the evidence and be like, dude, like this is pretty evil, and we need to understand how did it get to this point. You know, I think blackmail is a heavy part of it, and it's like an easy way to control people, even if it's you know, drugging people up. Like it's like a Godfather movie where you just drug them up and then you bring in a body and then you lay them next to it and be like, look what you did last night. They wake up and what are we talking about? So it's those things. I think that it's very easy to get somebody into a compromising situation.
I think yeah, you're right. I think it's easy to get people into a compromising situation, but I think it's the same thing, but on a deeper level as what we see now with like sexual deviances. Is I think that's more prominent now because of the widespread and how easily available like porn is. And when you consider like in the because we're all sort of around the same sort of age, and when you think back when we'd have been sort of like secondary sort of school there, where you're a kid but you kind of know what porn is, and it's like this mythical thing that exists on the top shelves of
it's where you see boobs in the clouds and you're like, whoa, that one looks like a nipple.
They come on a VHS tape which has got like half the thing ripped off the face of no title. And it's essentially really awkward fucking with some weird music behind it. Now it's not porn when you go to like the front page of like Pornhub if it's not like some 4'3" blonde girl getting like fucked by 15 people. You know, we've gone so extreme, and that's within the like, for want of better words, the realm of decency, like within the facing realm of decency. So imagine that, but you can already have whatever you want. So where do you go if you're a millionaire, billionaire that's hitting all these parties, that's doing this? You've fucked your fucking 500th model. Where do you go after that? And that's where I think these people are, is they've just exhausted decency, like, to get themselves off.
Yeah, sexual deviance. Well, I've listened to Tinfoil Hat, and they have a good theory too, is that you have these different genres of porn now, where there's like, I think they lure you into clicking on videos of young children, or like younger people. Now, I'm not going to say children, but younger people who look like children in these videos. And they will do like these like mother sister type of videos, you know what I mean? Like where it's like kind of incest, right? So they're making that kind of normal, I guess, in the porn realm. And like you're saying, like the younger, smaller women who fit the younger model age, right? They look younger. So I'm just saying, like, that wouldn't surprise me. And that's why it's free, because there's something about porn being free and about energy there. There's something about that where, why would that service be free? You know what I mean? Because people would gladly pay for that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going to pay
Netflix
for food, I mean, it's just like you're going to a restaurant and you get to eat for free. You know, and you could choose anything that you want. It's like going to a buffet, but it's all, you know, this is like, why would they serve you a buffet for free? So there must be something, either it's to get blackmail on you to like watch what you do, or like tarnish your character and be like, oh, well, this guy watches porn like every day or something. Or it's to like suck some energy out of you. I don't know. There must be something tied there. I don't know. Maybe not must be, but I tend to think so.
I've often thought how much damage could be done to society if everybody's search history was leaked. You know, if you could just do a Google search on like your next door neighbors, Google searches, and all of a sudden, like, Ollie's just into porn involving men with big hands.
There we go. Big hand fetish. Yeah.
But so do you think we're far away from like an end game?
You know, it's hard to say, because you could say, like, if Donald Trump gets in and arrests everybody, right? He arrests all these political enemies. He arrests like big bankers. He arrests blah, 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 right? Where does it end? Because to me, Donald Trump needs the deep state in order to thrive. It's the yin and the yang. He needs that speck of white or black in his section, wherever he's at. If he's on the white side or the black side, he needs that speck of deep state to constantly exist. Because, I mean, that's his thing. Like, they're always after me. Like, I am the enemy of the deep state. So, like, he needs that pushback, because if the deep state goes away, why do we still need Trump? You know, there's a lot of people.
WWE, the baby face is always hotter when it's after the title.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and I get, like, he might be there to take everything out and restructure just to kind of set the foundation, which I think is his goal. I think he wants to make America great again based on our foundation. And if you go back to America's founding fathers, there's a lot of occultism there, you know, with Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. I mean, Freemasonry was rampant back in the day. So I don't know if all of those secrets and mysteries will be exposed, and that will garner some trust because people will go, oh, well, look, they came out as like truth tellers or truth whatever. They're saying there's aliens out there. They're saying these whatever were worshipped in the Skull and Bone Society. You're talking about all of the whole like Illuminati underworld stuff, right? All of those secrets, if all of those secrets were revealed and you go, oh, well, everything's been exposed. There is no deep state anymore because they've all been exposed and arrested. Now what do we do? You know, like whose set of rules do we follow then? What monetary system does the world use, and how do you agree upon that? So, and when you look at BRICS right now, I think that's what they're trying to set up. They're trying to set up the new monetary global system. I don't know where America falls in on that.
Can you imagine if it all does get exposed, and then that is how they bring in this final card, and it's all just been one massive bluff? So the conspiracy theorists have been said, if all this Illuminati stuff comes out, they're like, see, told you that was going to come out. That was the plan all along. And then it's like, right, we need to now figure out a way to fix this, to make money work for us. Come on, Elon, give us the Neuralink.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Well, that's the whole Donnie Darkin's point of view, is that this current system that we're in, this deep state system, is the Babylonian system that was built up just to crumble. And the people behind crumbling that is the Antichrist and this whole like false light movement that is coming in as the good guys, but really they helped build up this first system, and they're going to destroy it to make them look like the saviors. So whether that's true or not is to be seen, but it does kind of make sense when you're looking at all of the evidence of Donald Trump connections, especially to Israel, helping them rebuild the third temple, all of the temple coins that he has been placed on. And when you have Tom Horn, I covered this in one of the episodes where Tom Horn is like this, used to be, he's dead now, but he used to be a prophecy watcher type of thing. He wrote a lot of books. He had a member of Donald Trump's like religious team. When he got into office, Trump built this group of religious leaders, and one of those members went to Tom Horn saying that Trump will be utilizing services to rebuild the third temple. Like he has a plan to rebuild the third temple, and one of the peace negotiations will be that Saudi Arabia will take over the Temple Mount. So where the third temple is to be built, there's the mosque there right now, or the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So that mosque needs to go away. So in order to do that, we need a neutral player to come in, and that's going to be Saudi Arabia. So if that does happen, and Saudi Arabia comes in and they convince the mosque to go away, and then all of a sudden you see some sort of rebuilding of this third temple, and then all of a sudden we have red heifer sacrifices. Then you're looking at the abomination of desolation, right? So that is one thing that, as the Antichrist, you would have to place that into the third temple. I don't know if Trump is going to be doing that. And honestly, like, I don't know if Trump will like poo-poo God. Like, I don't think he's gonna be like, don't worship God, worship me. I don't see him doing that. So that's why I'm pushing back against the whole Antichrist thing. I don't know if he is going to want to be worshipped and call for people to leave their own religion. I don't know.
When he spoke, he did mention God quite a few times in the first speech that he did when he was, you know.
Yeah. It's like, but who's God, right? Like, is it the God of the Bible, or is it the God of something else? I don't know. Because God could be a lot of different things. It's not Jesus Christ to a lot of people. So
no.
Well, if there's one thing for sure, it's the best time to have conspiracy podcasts.
Oh yeah.
So there's never going to be any short of stuff to talk about. But thanks for coming on again, Greg. It's been great. I hope you'll come on again in the future. I hope that we can do a podcast together before the apocalypse comes.
Yeah, or at least before the election. We'll see what's really going on. It's going to be, I think, hot and heavy here in the next 5 months. There's going to be a lot of action going on.
So, Greg, we've got all your links down below, but if you, for our guys that may not know Strange Sauna, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I haven't done an episode in a couple months, but I'm getting ready to start here very shortly. So Strange Sauna show on YouTube, on Rumble. You can join my Telegram chat, Strange Sauna or Strange Sauna Show. I can't remember which one it is. I'm also on X. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff. So Instagram, all that stuff.
Well, cheers, Greg. I look forward to listening to more Strange Sauna stuff because I miss your uploading episodes. So if you could hurry up and do that, that'd be fucking great.
I will oblige. All right. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
People are strange. Fucking strange.
Is that strange?
That is strange.
That is strange.
Well, that is strange. This is strange.